Hello everybody, and welcome to Fundamental Forest, the beginner's guide to the art of Roller Coaster Tycoon. Now you may be thinking, Fundamental Forest? Samuel, this is the pre-built Woody, ugly twisters on a huge blank map, and you know what, there's not even a single tree to speak of. How dare you call this Fundamental Forest? And to that I would say, good point, please let me explain. I have long desired for there to be a resource for newcomers to our community, or those simply wishing to acquire new skills to help them make more beautiful, compelling parks. You can find endless resources for more technical aspects of Roller Coaster Tycoon, such as complicated ride hacking, or plugin use, or tile inspector stuff. The reason for this feels very simple to me. It is comparatively very easy to give step-by-step instructions for tasks which have a clear beginning, middle, and end. Clear boundaries. You want a custom ride? Here it is. You build it like this, you hack that into that, and Bob's your uncle. A repeatable, reliable custom ride. But how do you do that for the building of an entire park? An experience which should be completely subjective and completely from the heart and imagination of the person building it. That is where Fundamental Forest comes in, and in this series you and I will be building a park from the ground up using no fancy bells and whistles, no hacking, no tile inspector, no cheat menu, no custom scenery, only the most basic features of the game. And what's more, I am going to prove to you that you do not need those things to make a beautiful park you can be proud of. We're going to be discussing macro, ride design, building placement, path layout, eyeline management, landscaping, foliage, and if you're confused about any of those things, do not worry at all. It is very much my objective and, of course, responsibility to help you understand all of this over the course of the series. These techniques will form the fundamental skills that you will take beyond Fundamental Forest into all of the projects you build in the future. They are the simple techniques which build the strong foundation upon which you build your custom parks, which are completely unique to you. But why should you listen to me? Good point. Yet again, here's an extremely quick resume for the people who perhaps aren't yet familiar with my work. You can of course look back through my YouTube channel, see the sort of stuff I've been doing. There's some stuff talking about my own work here, but there's a lot talking about other people's work. So I'm really getting to the mechanics of how other people play to improve my own game and hopefully help other people improve. This video here, my most recent one, I'd recommend looking at because it goes through the way I view the game as a judge part of competitions. You can also, of course, go and check out my New Element Park Maker page. And if we go to the very beginning, we can see that my first park that I was a part of was in 2009. So I've been part of the community for a really long time. And for anyone who just wants to see what I can do, if you download the Park Zata off my Park Maker page, you can look through some of my recent NCSO work. This is non-custom scenery work. Very similar to the stuff that we're going to be doing in Fundamental Forest, but with none of the fancy bells and whistles and stuff, which can get very confusing for newer players. Hopefully, this is enough to convince you that I'm worth trusting in this regard. Your trust is very important to me. And I hope you can join us on this journey as we venture into the wonderful land of Fundamental Forest. Whew! Alrighty. Now that tongue twister of an introduction is done, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to delete ugly twisters. I know we've got so attached in the short time that we've known them. What we are going to be doing in this episode is, perhaps unsurprisingly, we're going to be doing the entrance to the park. Now, this bench will be available in the description, and you can download it. All that is on this bench is stuff that you can get in the base game. I have included some of the newer ride types, such as single rail roller coaster, hybrid coaster, because they're really fun to build with, and we deserve to have fun. But in terms of all the scenery, it is stuff from the base game of Roller Coaster Tycoon. There's none of the additional stuff that they've added in Open, because in some way, I want for this to be kept as simple as possible, to not let the waters be muddied by the potential of newer objects that they add, and of course custom scenery. What I'm going to do here, something else that's also a little bit strange as well, is the fact that I've made this much taller in case we want to use this underground area to do anything. The default place that the land begins, it's really quite low, all things considered. If you want to do anything underground, you don't have that much room at all. But to be fair, that's not necessarily the most common thing to do, is it, to build underground? What I'm doing is I'm just building just a bit of a buffer zone by the map edge. We don't want to build right by the map edge, because if we want to expand, the map edge is going to be a hard line, and there are ways to increase the size of the map, but we don't want to be doing any of that fancy stuff. So what we're going to do instead is we're just going to make sure we have a little bit of wiggle room by the edge there. I think that is 4 long, that little... We're going to turn these into some planters, I think, or some considered areas of foliage. Now, something that I kind of want to do, maybe we can do that with this one, is maybe we'll add a little water feature here, and we'll do that by doing this. And the reason why I think this is a good idea is because water is one of the most... It's one of, like, the cheapest methods of bringing interest. And the same goes with all the different types of landscaping, really. And I think I want to just outline this area with some hedges. What we're looking for is just the simplest ways to bring interest. And when you're building water features, what you want is to consider the fact that these water features, they might flood or similar. So you don't want them right up against the path edge. Something else, we're getting into some great fundamentals already. What you want to be doing is you want to be colouring the undersides of your paths, because it helps it feel more considered and more deliberate. So I'm just going through. There's no need to rush any of this. And now what we've done is we have created just a very modest entrance to the park. Nothing fancy. Maybe we'll do a bit of that, or maybe something that's good about these fountains is that you can align them on the very edge of a tile. You can do them on the middle of a tile, at the edge of the tile, a bit like a wall, or you can do them in the very center of a tile. So that lets you align them in a lot of interesting places. So I think what we'll try and do here, let's see if we can get it right first time. We're going to try and do one in the middle of there. That looks about right, doesn't it? Wow, I'm very proud of myself. And something else that we're going to want to do is put fences around here. We don't want guests to fall in. We're doing the very basics here. So maybe we'll just do this one. What colour should we do them? I think something that's always good is just like a darker muted colour. So maybe we'll just go with maroon here. And we'll just go around the edge of the water like that. That's cool. I think the maroon with the grey and the green and the blue actually works pretty well there. Something else we can start doing as well is start considering the additional foliage that we can add in to affect our perception of this area. So there we go. Very, very modest, very demure, and very mindful. There we go. And on these areas here, we'll go for just some simple flower planters. Maybe we'll get some reds in there. Do you know what I mean? We'll just do a bit of that. And a bit of that. We don't necessarily want for this to be an area where people stop. I think the red and the yellow is a bit busy, so maybe I'll go for a bit more of a simple. And what we can do as well is that there's some very subtle differences between these flowers, but they do a lot to distinguish them. So we can maybe have a bit of this one. The pinks and the blues blending through each other there. It's going to be quite good. Simple, simple, simple. And what we can do in addition to that is we can get some trees. And I quite like these tall ones like this because they just feel as though they're not as obstructive while still being very attention getting. Like you can almost see through them, but they're very like they're dominating and sort of respectful at the same time. So we've done the wrong red there. What you can do as well is I have it set to the V button, but there is a button that you can press that will select the eyedropper tool. Oh, I've already had an idea. I've already had another idea. So these rise quite significantly above the path. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut away. I'm going to see how it feels if we sink these down below the path, similar to how we did the water. So if you can bear with me just a moment. Now, alright, that's already looking better. What dropping them down has done is created less visual obstruction to the guests moving forward, while still retaining that splash of colour. What I want to do in addition to this is maybe grab a couple of these. I think I want to dilute a bit of the colour in here. I know that seems crazy, but I think diluting it a little bit will help retain its power. I have no idea why it's behaving like that. My apologies. Okay, that's the right level it should be on. I think I did the same thing here actually. Let's grab that. Yeah, we can totally go underneath these. See, even someone who's been playing as long as I have, we all still make silly mistakes. You really can't ever beat yourself up over this stuff. A, because it's really not that deep, you don't have to worry. And because to err is to be human, you know? We are all cursed to be silly sausages every now and then. Maybe just a little bit of this one as well. We're just messing around, we're just seeing what works. That's an important part of all this, to like experiment. We started with a clear vision, we wanted to have like a path that comes forward, and now we're just sort of like, we're riffing a little bit. I think something that would be really beautiful is imagine sitting along here. And something else that we could do here. It is my recommendation that you don't mix too many path types together, but I think something that could be fun is down the middle here. Because it's a bit more scenic, have the dirt path. I think we'll just delete one of those sets of benches just because they just look a bit too close together. A bit too suffocating. Interesting. I think that's really cool. And something else that we could do as well. Will it let us? Because this fence object can be a little bit finicky. Hey, look at that. Look at that. It's no match for us. We're much too clever. You and I. And this will just create a little bit of visual distinction there. And because we can't use zero clearances, we can't get this to line up perfectly, but we're not going for perfect, we're going for what helps us move along. So already, this is already looking really good. Something else that I'm just feeling, this is just my opinion as well, is I feel like I want for this to just expand out a little bit when it gets to this water. So it feels like it should just be a bit more weighty. So let's try that. What have we got underneath? We've got this dirt underneath, don't we? Interesting. Interesting. I think maybe we'll try a bit of this. Can you see what I'm getting at here? We'll go even further out. Crumbs! This is a disaster. But everything can be fixed in this game. There we go. Another case solved. I'll just do that to give a bit of visual distinction. That sort of expands out in that area. I wonder if, now that it's bulging out at the side a little bit more, it makes me want to expand this out a bit this way, but I'm not sure I want to do that with the pond. So maybe we'll create a visual entity there that will help it feel a bit wider and a bit bigger without actually necessitating expanding the path any more than we need to, or expanding the pond or whatever it may be. You can do a lot of things to imply change and movement without actually having to do all that much to support it. Now what we'll need to do with these objects is, because they are so high, we will need to just add in these objects here. Wow, I'm smart. See, what I've done is I've accidentally done something clever in so far as I've not gone all the way up to the edge. So it means I can place the objects like that. I think what I'll do here is I'll delete this and I'll try and get this to be like that. So when we put the path back, it'll only obfuscate this part. Let's see if I can do the same here. Oh, he's good. Look at that. No. He's not as good as he thought he was. There'll be one place where I can put this. Ah, wonderful. This is just part of the deal when it comes to using no hacks. You've got to find fun and interesting ways to get around the limitations. So now we can only build them along this wall here. And what we can do with this fact is we just need to make this brown before I lose my mind, is we can maybe put some benches along it like that. And suddenly that feels a bit more considered, while still having that visual weight there. And you know what I think we'll do as well? We'll make the most of the fact that we've included this footpath texture, and we'll do a bit of that, and that'll help justify the shape expansion. Now there you go, it's looking a bit more evenly weighted here. Now I could have gone for something very symmetrical there, but I decided not to, because symmetry, when combined with asymmetry, creates a very organic feeling. It started off very symmetrical, but then I thought, if we give it a bit of an off-kilter feeling, like this being this shape and that being that shape, it's not something that needs symmetry. So if we make it feel symmetrical but have a unique aspect on both sides, it creates a very satisfying visual level of interest. And with that being said, I think what we should do is we should move on to the main event, which is the actual entrance area. We as guests have been being drawn towards something at the end of here, but what is that thing? The scenery group that we are going to use for our entrance, I know you've been dying to hear it, guys, is the castle scenery. There we go, we've built a castle. That wasn't very hard, was it? And here's some villages. So yeah, let's see what we can do using this. It's going to be a bit of freestyling here. I did a little bit of planning just because I didn't want to make a fool of myself in the first ever video. This was all freestyle. I know, I wonder if you could tell me floundering around trying to bring that to life. But yeah, let's move on to the entrance proper. Okie dokie. What I want to do here, right, is I want to use some of these waterfalls. But as you will notice, they are a full wall height tall, and if we were doing hacks that wouldn't be a problem because we'd be able to sink it into the water, but we aren't. Simply put. So we've got to do the best with what we have at our disposal. So without further ado, let's build this up a bit. And we shall begin our amazing feature. So the responsibility that I'm wanting to put onto this fountain is to create a focal point for the people who are walking in. There's going to be no mistaking the fact that this is an area of significance. We're using the ice texture behind the water here to give it a more watery vibe, if you will. There's going to be no acting like we don't know there's something significant going on down here. Now, something that I think is pretty necessary is going to be some like viewing platforms. Maybe if we do something like this. Oh, now we're talking. Now we're talking. Look at that. It's like we're there. And we're going to use the landscaping to create a bit of like a bowl feeling as you're going in. Right, and now you can conglomerate on these areas. Sort of gather with your mates and regard the goings-on that are going on. Now we've got quite a symmetrical thing going on here, so what we want to do is we'll just do a bit of something just to break the symmetry a little bit. No, I think I want that to be tarmac. Or do I? And what we're going to be wanting to do along this water is we'll put some more lily pads, I think. I have no idea why the lily pads are misbehaving so much. They're doing such funny colours. So here what I'm just trying to do is I'm trying to plan out where I want the entrances to be. And think what we can do as well. This is a little bit of fun. Is we can maybe... I think we'll leave that maroon. Yeah, that could be fun. It says violet and it's following it around. That's so funny. I've never seen that bug before. And now it's as though like the park gates are open and they can shut. But for now, everybody's welcome. All right, I think what I'll do as well is I might put something in the middle here. But does that get in the way? Something that they never tell you. It's just how much thinking you'll have to do. Oh my goodness, I'm pressing every wrong button. Is that good? Or does this get in the way of that? Oh, heavens to Betsy. I think I would have put something there, but I don't know what. That could be fun. I think we'll tentatively move forward with that being like that, and we'll put some benches at the side. I'm getting blinded by the sun right now. I'm really glad that the sun exists, but not like directly in my eyeballs. Yeah, interesting. And then that's not as obstructive, obviously, as the tower. And then we can Where's this water going to be coming from? There are kids outside and they're doing just crazy kid stuff. And we've got to allow it. It's actually not illegal for them to do that. So if you hear them, just remember that I am suffering just as much as you are. Now, do we want it to be kind of like that? That could be fun. Yeah, I'm liking this. Awesome. Right, and I think it is now our responsibility, our divine responsibility, to make this look really cool. So, we're going to put some flowers in. What's cooler than flowers? I think we'll load a tree into this corner. Maybe a different tree in this corner. I think maybe we should put a statue here. We should do maybe this one like that. Say here, it is a knight. And you should show him a lick of respect. I cannot believe that the game does that. We can load them in down here, so that's nice. How does that feel? Is the statue a bit overwhelmed, do you think? Do you think maybe we should move the statue one forward? Let's do that. Let's move the statue one forward. Clear the gangway. We'll leave that like that. We'll get the flowers back in. Maybe do it a bit like that. That could be fun. Look at that. Isn't that fun? I think we'd all agree how fun that is. Now that's feeling really good as like when we walk in the entrance and we see this area like this. We're going to be so excited to rush in. Maybe we should put some signs above these gateways. Pink's quite nice, but I think it like gives the wrong vibe. Blue's a bit funny. Let's try it with aqua for now. We can always change this. We can always change it. Nothing's set in stone until it's set in stone. Now that we've got this, I'm really happy with this entrance right now. Look at that. Imagine walking down here, you see this thing, you see the statue down there. You are naturally going to be drawn in this direction. I think what I want to do in this, I think I want to continue this motif perhaps a bit more over here. So maybe we'll try and do that. And we're going to use an interesting technique here. What we're going to use is we're going to use signs to support this. Because signs mean that we don't have to muck around as much. Like what we did here with the pillars. So we're just going to be using a different technique, basically. I think because... interesting. Maybe we should try with these more Asian-y ones. Now these are like bright red rather than... I'm not sure I fully appreciate that. Now I'm not 100% sure that I like what I've done there, but I don't especially dislike it. So we'll keep it for now. We might change it as time goes on. For now, we are sadly obliged to keep on rolling. Now what I'm noticing in here is there's a lot of like visual like busyness with all of these like castle walls in here. So I think what I'm going to try and do is a little bit of layer separation by maybe grabbing this roof. And that's annoying. It does that thing where it deletes them. They're actually, I think it's just fully legal to have them there. Or maybe it isn't. Ah, crumbs. There we go. And that's just sort of visually separated our... visually separated the wall situation. I wonder if we can change this texture here to be like that to match that a bit more, but even then, everybody. Maybe that a bit better? Yeah, putting footpaths on there has actually helped the visual distinction a bit more, so that's nice. And what we shall do here behind this waterfall is we shall make sure we've put some walls in. Okie dokie, I feel like this little part is pretty much done here. I've tried to pack these corners with some plants and stuff. We sadly can't do as much along this wall simply because we've got these fountains here and we've got the lily pads and stuff and they are taking up the space, and because we don't have zero clearance because that's not part of our parameters for this, we can't put them in there. We could probably put some here though, couldn't we? But then we're sort of getting into the waterfall territory, aren't we? And we maybe don't want to do that. We don't want to get into the waterfalls territory. We don't want to be battling with the waterfalls for domination, because the waterfalls will win. Maybe we can do a bit of that. That's not so bad, is it? And other things we can do is to sneak things like hedges in along the walls like this. Don't know how much we like this, but it might help us out a little bit. Yeah, I think that kind of works, doesn't it? Is that too much? I don't know. We'll leave it like that for now. We'll move on to the area beyond here. What we've done with this section is that we've created symmetry and we've broken the symmetry. We're not doing everything completely mirrored. We've got some weenies, as they are called in the discussions about Disneyland. What we need to do already, that is unbelievable. We need to get some handymen in here. We're doing a park without money, so we don't need to worry about running out of money. We just need to rain as well. I've turned rain off because obviously whilst you're making a video you don't want too much rain happening because it'll make the screen dark and we don't want that. But it might be that I turn plants withering off just because we're making a video. But here we are. It's extremely... This looks significant, doesn't it? It's a significant thing. And that's what's going to be drawing guests this way. Then they're going to see the welcome signs on the sides and they're going to be going, it's this way into the park. They're not going to be distracted going off in any other sort of direction. And what we've done is we've popped our entrance to the park a little bit into the park so that we have more room to play with here. And what we'll do is we'll begin making some buildings. Now I think I want to make this asymmetrical on this side. What we can do as well is we can start throwing down some land textures to sort of plan out where our stuff is. So we know that this stuff is probably going to be... Some of this is definitely within the buildings, and some of it is we can strongly infer that it will be inside the buildings. So maybe we'll have make it asymmetrical, kind of have a building coming out on this side that could be of some significance. Maybe we'll do something. Now what I like to do when I'm building structures like this is starting with the roofs, because roofs do we want to do something like this? Interesting. Roofs are the first thing that sort of can be used to attract the eye in an isometric view. I'm just going to make this taller, because we simply put, we have a top-down view. That is the very simplest explanation of that. So roofs play much more of an important role than they might in real life, where roofs are very much out of the eye line of the regular person. And rightly so, because it's not, roofs are none of our business. They're so high up. They're not where we hang out. But from a rollercoaster tycoon perspective, we can depend on no such ignorance, because roofs are a lot of what we see. I'm squinting because the sun is blasting my eyes. I should probably put my blinds down. Oakley dokley. So we have outlined a little roof here, and I wonder what we're going to do with this. I think what we'll do as well, this could be fun, is we could bring this roof a bit more down on this side. So it's a bit higher on this side. So what we could do is we could bring this path in along here. I'm imagining it's going to expand out this way as well. So we can just go ahead and do that. What do we want for these walls to be? Because it's all well and good saying, oh, it's all going to be castle walls, but that might be a bit boring. Put a castle in the corner there, perhaps. Is that a bit much, having the tower on there? I feel like it might be. A very wise man named Alex once said to me, in NCSO, he doesn't bother doing doorways the same way that he would in CSO. So basically, when we're using no custom scenery, there's not a huge amount of options for when it comes to doorways. So what he does instead is he just tries to conceal them as best he can with things like awnings. And that's what I think we're going to do here, is we're going to grab some awning objects. And we'll do a bit of covering up like that. And we'll colour the inside of here thusly. And we'll put a bit of brown on the floor. Now this part here is looking a bit boring here, so we're gonna come back through in a second and try and sort that out. But in terms of the awnings here, no, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right at all. Something that's always like a quick fix is just going straight up like white awnings like this. But we can't just go for the quick fix in every situation. That doesn't necessarily help us solve any of our problems. And see if they are just maroon. See what that does. Interesting. I don't know whether these are a bit much, these signs. Oh, this game is so hard. This game. So challenging. I'm not sold on this, but we will leave it as is just for now. And we'll maybe put a sign. Just say an information. It doesn't even fit on the sign. That's annoying. Doopy doopy doo. There we go. Alright, let's bring this path in here. Let's see what kind of shapes that we create when we're in here. Now what we broadly speaking, what we're always trying to avoid is having big fat right angles everywhere. Because for as much as we love stuff that's big and fat in any circumstance, we don't want for stuff to turn out uninteresting. So maybe I'll just try and get a bit more interest where it comes to this shape here. You know what? I always lose these castle walls. I'm always like, where on earth have they gone? This is all feeling like one cohesive building, so that's quite good. This bit's sort of like choppy in areas, but there's not a huge amount we can do about that in NCSO. So I think what we can do with this area inside here is maybe have this be a little garden. So if we look in here, we can get a few of these in. Oh, maybe we'll drop it down as well. Now we're thinking. And we're just going to splash these through. Maybe do a bit of that. That's awesome. And let's just make it a bit more interesting by doing a bit of this. Just a few of these here and there. Fantastic. Right. I think it would be fun to have maybe we'll bring that one forward a bit like that, and we'll put a tree in this corner. The honey locust appears to be our entrance area tree. Maybe try that one there and a honey locust alongside it. There's a lot of power in auditioning your objects and your trees. You'll see me time and time again just going back through and just trying different things. Let's see. And we've got like a height diagonal going along here. Maybe we'll drop that. Maybe we want to use like a slightly different tree. I'm thinking maybe the willow tree here. That could be fun. It's good to have to choose a limited palette, not because it's like a hard and fast rule. It makes areas cohesive, right? It makes them feel more considered, more deliberate, because there's not just every different kind of everything everywhere. Helps it feel like you have a plan and you know what's going on. Now let's have a look inside here. We've got this in here now. I think what we'll do is we'll see if we can fit maybe an information kiosk. That fits in there. Fantastic. We'll put some toilets because we always need toilets. And we will put maybe just like a souvenir store. I think that's a good idea. Alrighty, this is looking awesome. So let's just take some time now to make a more deliberate plan of what we want to do here. Because I think what I made note of in my plan was to have a carousel at the end of a small area with... is basically have a carousel as like a weenie in the distance. Like another version of this, but to draw people further into the park. So what we'll do is we'll plop one down. And we'll make it so that we can see the entrances. Plain, there it is. And we'll create a sort of visual pull down this direction. I think how we'll do it is we'll do a similar thing to how we've been doing here with these plants down here. You know, I never use these plants, and I thought I'll do them because they're like quick and expedient, but I'm actually really enjoying using them. Now we don't want to get too drawn into doing things too symmetrically, so I'm going to swap that out so it's less symmetrical. And I think I'll do a couple of honey locusts down here. Make that symmetrical. And then we can start doing some more planters and stuff down here. Maybe we'll do something a bit like this. Interesting, interesting. So they're coming out of here. They're being drawn in this direction. What we'll probably do is have paths kind of coming off in this direction as well. There's nothing saying that it has to be a straight path out. You can make very good use of more complex combinations of directions, like there. I think we'll probably pull this off this way as well. It doesn't have to look perfect right away. We can refine it as time goes on, but we've made like an asymmetrical shape heading off that way. We can definitely have something going on here, maybe some more castle buildings, and maybe behind this carousel we can have our more significant castle. And if we can, we're going to be riffing slightly off of Disneyland here, but I think that's no bad thing because we're doing a beginner thing. For me, Disneyland is a bit cliche, but things are cliche because they are effective. Things don't become cliche because they're rubbish. So now we've got some interesting gestures going on here. We've got some macro planning already. We've got the beginnings of our castle-y arrangement going on down here. We've got the brown roofs. And maybe let's try and... It's quite difficult to use these round ones, in my opinion. You kind of have to just plop them on their own. That might be a bit better, just having them on their own like that. Ah, cute and adorable, some may say. But I say, it is a tool of manipulation. To get you drawn in. Interesting, interesting. Now what I want to do, we've got information on this side heading in this direction. I think we could put a building here that's similar to these, that can house our information from this side. I think that could be a very good idea. So I think what I'll do is I'll expand this path out a little bit, because when you are building, okay, here's a great bit of information. You should consider your paths as a interconnected group of plazas, which are areas like this where peeps can slow down and stop and perhaps go into information, go into this building, have a look at this ride, watch this. We can see it a little bit with this area here where it's kind of like a stopping area where you can look at the fountain and be relaxed in these areas. And paths, which are these thinner areas, these are for getting places and not much more than that. They are purely for moving people through. You don't want peeps to stop in those areas. You don't want to give them reasons to stop in those areas. You want them to always be moving. So I've made this a bit wider here so that peeps can be moving through, but also they're able to stop as well. So that's why we're making this a little bit wider. Should we make it perhaps wider still? Maybe we should do that. I think that's probably a good idea. And again, here's the important thing. We're always in a process of testing and experimentation. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that this will be big enough. We'll make it sort of a bit of an asymmetrical shape. Like that, perhaps. Like it continues off a bit more in that direction. And what I'm wanting to do at the front here is maybe have bit of this going on. And we can continue this motif. I think what we need a bit more of a splash of colour in here. I wonder if we... we do a bit more around there. We follow this technique on. We don't want to spam the honey locust a bit too much, so let's maybe do that one. So that's already helped the balance quite a lot. I wonder if we do a... there's not quite enough room here to do a planter, but maybe if we do something a bit like this. That's interesting. What we don't want to do is we don't want to get overwhelmed by the greyness of it all with all this tarmac. So yeah, planters are a really important way of breaking up your paths, maintaining visual interest as you're moving through. All this can be developed as we go along, by the way. It can be, it's not something that we have to do instantly and get right first time. We can develop as time goes on. So we just do a little bit of this as well. And now already we've got a very distinct visual like vocabulary that is not too busy and it's not too boring. And it's kind of hitting. It's hitting just right, which is a challenge. It is very much a challenge. So maybe we'll grab one of these as well. Drop it in there. Maybe we'll just have one of them, and we'll do a little bit of this just to break it up a bit. Maybe park info works better. Nice, let's do that on this side as well. If you can hear dogs outside, that's just on account of the dogs that are outside. Right. The best way to improve your buildings is to build them, and then you can work on developing them. If you find yourself like paralyzed with, oh my goodness, what am I doing? I'm so bad at making these sorts of decisions. If you don't make any decision, you can't reflect on it. So what we're doing is we are moving forward, always making decisions. I'm not completely sold on what I'm doing right now. You know what I mean? But I can come back and I can develop. It's not popping in quite the same way, is it? Alright. This is... get rid of these flowers. I feel like they're not helping. Oh, crumbs, what do we do here? How are we fixing this? That already feels better. Curses! Curses, curses, curses! And I think what will actually help here is if we make this 3 wide. See, now my brain's working. It is ticking away. It's finding the solutions to the problems. They are kind of very dominating, these things, aren't they? I wonder if we can get away with having fewer. Now we're talking. Alrighty then. So here we've already got a quite developed entrance area. Oh, there's something that makes me want to like do like a planter maybe here. Oh heavens, I'm not sure. Oh crumbs. I'm not sure there's necessarily a good place to put it. I think maybe there. I think that's the candidate. I think it's back to the drawing board with this. I think we go back to old reliable. Doing a bit of that. And doing a bit of that. And not rocking the boat, okay? Now I've got this little planter motif going on here as well that we can develop. In more areas. These like single tree planters are very, very, very powerful because when you do something with just one tile in the sort of resolution that NCSO exists in, you can imply a line that's much more difficult to imply using bigger ones. So these ones are always going to be a bit more. In fact, let's continue this motif on this side now that we've sort of like developed our visual language a bit more. Nice. And what we're going to do as well is, because we're doing a lot of repetition here with these trees, we're going to employ a little bit of visual trickery. Now when you're using hacks, this is a lot simpler because you can just do whatever you want, but with this middle one, we're going to drop this down 2 instead of 1, and we're going to bury the tree a little bit more. So let's grab some flowers. Do that part first. Goodness, forgive me, please. And we'll do these guys in a standard way. And with this, we shall we'll just sink it a bit more. We'll maybe do it like that tall, as though it's kind of growing. And we can use the hedges here to cover up our crime. And now we've got this mirrored motif on both sides. We're using this idea of a visual... Ah, crumbs. That's foolish. Just got duoloed. That is an in-joke for the New Element believers. Hello everyone, we are back a little bit later, and I'm here to discuss something that's going to be very important with this project. You might notice that this looks pretty different to how we left it off in the recording, and that's because I've come back through with fresh eyes a little bit later, and I've made a few modifications that I'll just go through with you, and for my reasoning for doing them. So the first thing I want to discuss is these towers. You'll recognize that before we were using, if I can find it, here we go, we were using this. And what this does is if you have like a lot of these walls in a lot of places, the roof of this is very similar to the wall texture. And what that does is creates a bit of an optical illusion where you can't differentiate between the walls and the roofs, and that ability to differentiate between roofs and walls is an extremely important part of making something that's readable, which is to say you can look at it and you can understand what it is the builder is trying to communicate. We discussed this earlier in the video when we were talking about roofs being having a big influence more so than they would in real life. I've also come through, created a bit more of like a developed covering here. I created these, by the way, just very, very simple indeed. If you just grab path, something that you can do, which is a great feature of OpenRCT2 Tycoon, is you can press Control on path now, and you can copy it across. So I did a little bit of that, and I just put the towers around it like this. It's fundamentally the same shapes and stuff, but it's got a different texture on top. So I've been through and created them. I took out a lot of the visual noise around here. I took out a few of the towers. I replaced one of the trees to just like reinforce the honeysuckle motif that we've got going through here, and I feel like that has made it a lot easier to read as well. And I took out one of these canopies here and made it a bit more open because I felt that that canopy was blocking the view of the people walking in, seeing the end here. So those are the decisions that I made in that regard. And you can see here that I've also done a little bit of foliage going down here. Now I'm going to do a more in-depth tutorial on how to do this kind of foliage and how to create nice forms and shapes within your foliage. So don't worry too much about that. I just wanted to develop this area a bit more and experiment a little bit off camera. What I was doing here was I was creating a exit path. So we're going to make some exit buildings here where the peeps can leave and go down here, and the people leaving won't be getting in the way of the people arriving. So that process of development is very important to the process of making something that's very, very, that you can be proud of, that's very high quality. So I didn't want to leave that a mystery for us. So yeah, here's just that little explanation. I'm so excited to bring you the next video. I'm probably going to record the next video before I upload this one, just because there's a bit more editing at the beginning of this video, as you can probably see having watched the video. But something that I want you to be thinking about, and you can feel free to leave your comments, we're going to be making several areas. So here are your options for the next areas. We've got a pirate, we've got mining, and I think I'm going to fold mining in with the wonderful, I can't see it in the top now, I'm blind. I will just add in a pagoda for the other option. I wonder what that could be. We've got this option here. Now I hope these themes are, oh, here's the cowboy one. So this mining and cowboy, these are going to go together. I think it's going to be like a cowboy mine sort of situation. Here are your options for what the next areas could be. And I'm going to put spooky there as well. We could make a spooky area. So we've got an Asian area. Now this could be any part of Asia if we feel like we can do it justice with the parameters we've got. So any specific recommendations you've got for that, please fire away. We can do a pirate themed area. That's always really fun, really effective within the parameters of NCSO. We've got a Roman or sort of classics theme, and this sort of folds a little bit into the Egypt theme as well, another classics area. We've got cowboy and mining, as we were discussing, and we've got spooky. So I want you guys to be having a think about what you want to see me do, and also any ride recommendations you want to see. That could be really fun. So without further ado, I will let you get to it. There'll be downloads in the description. There's going to be links in the description. I recommend you check that out for any additional resources we're going to have here. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what we get on with over the course of this series. Thank you so much.